It started with $6. Not 5, not 10, 6. Because that's what my coffee cost every morning. Large dark roast, no room for cream. $5.74 with tax. I'd hand over a 10, get change, and drop 6 singles into her paper cup on my way out. Same corner, same spot, same cardboard sign. Not addicted, just hungry. I don't know why that line stuck with me. Maybe because it sounded rehearsed. Or maybe because it sounded like something someone told her to write. She couldn't have been more than 19. Thin hoodie, oversized backpack, hair always pulled back like she didn't want it recognized. She never begged, never followed. Just sat there with this steady, unblinking way of looking at the world, like she was watching it instead of asking it for help. The first time I gave her money, she nodded once. Thanks. Second time, she said, You don't have to. By week 3, she knew my order. Large black, right? I smiled. Yeah. That obvious? She shrugged. You look like someone who doesn't like sweet things. I laughed at that. Didn't realize how wrong she was. Her name was Riley. At least, that's what she told me. She never asked for my name. Never needed to. People like me are predictable. Same suit, same routine, same car. Gray Audi. Tinted windows. Parked 2 blocks down. She noticed everything. I didn't. After about a month, I stopped thinking of it as charity. It felt more like ritual. $6 every morning, like I was paying rent to my own conscience. One Thursday it was raining. Cold, sideways rain that soaked through jackets and made the whole city look miserable. She wasn't under the awning like usual. She was across the street, watching. Not sitting. Watching. When I crossed over, she stepped closer. You shouldn't park there anymore, she said quietly. I frowned. Why? She hesitated, then shook her head. Never mind. And that should have been my first clue. Because people living on the street don't give advice unless it matters. The next morning, she wasn't there. No cardboard sign. No backpack. No Riley. I figured she'd moved spots. Happens all the time. But something about the empty sidewalk bothered me. Like a missing tooth you keep touching with your tongue. That afternoon, around 3:17 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Normally, I don't answer unknown numbers, but something told me to look. The text had no greeting, no introduction, just a photo. My front door. Taken from across the street, zoomed in. Clear enough to see the brass handle and the small scratch near the lock that I'd been meaning to fix for months. Under the photo, 3 words. Don't go home. My stomach dropped so fast it felt physical. I stared at the screen, zoomed in, looked for reflections, shadows, anything. Then another message came. It's Riley. Please trust me. I didn't breathe for a solid 10 seconds. How did she get my number? How did she know where I lived? And why was she standing across the street from my house? I called her immediately. It rang once, then went to voicemail. I texted back, What's going on? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then, You weren't supposed to see it yet. See what? My hands were shaking now. I left work early. Didn't tell anyone why. As I pulled into my neighborhood, I slowed down instinctively. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Kids riding bikes, a dog barking behind a fence. My house sitting there like it always had. Still, quiet, safe. I parked at the end of the block instead of my driveway, watched, waited. Nothing moved. No strange cars, no broken windows, no smoke. I texted again. I'm outside. What am I looking for? This time the reply came instantly. He's still inside. My pulse slammed against my ribs. He? There was no he. I lived alone. Ever since the divorce, it had just been me in silence. Who was inside? The typing bubble stayed longer this time. Long enough to make me feel like I was already too late. Then, the man who's been following you. And that's when everything I thought was coincidence started rearranging itself into something much darker. Because suddenly, the scratch on my lock didn't feel accidental. The car that had been parked 2 houses down last week didn't feel random. And Riley? Riley hadn't been sitting on that corner begging. She'd been watching. Watching me. Watching someone else. And somehow, she knew something I didn't. I didn't call the police. Not yet. Because calling the police makes something real. And I wasn't ready for real. I was still hoping this was a misunderstanding. A prank. A coincidence. But my gut was screaming. I stepped out of my car slowly, keeping my eyes locked on the house. Curtains still. Mailbox closed. Porch light off. Normal. Too normal. My phone buzzed again. Riley. Don't use the front door. My throat went dry. Me. How do you know he's inside? 3 seconds. Riley. Because he went in 20 minutes ago. 20 minutes. That meant he'd entered while I was still at work, which meant he knew my schedule. I walked down the sidewalk like I was just out for air. Didn't look suspicious, didn't rush. Circled around the block until I was behind my house. The back fence was old, easy to climb. I meant to fix it, never did. I hopped over quietly and crouched near the kitchen window. And that's when I saw it. The light above my stove was on. I never leave lights on. Ever. A shadow moved. Slow. Deliberate. Inside my kitchen. Someone was there. My pulse started pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. I texted her again. Me. He's inside. 3 dots. Then, Riley. I know. I swallowed hard. Me. Who is he? Long pause. Longer than before. Then, Riley. The same guy who's been watching you for weeks. Watching me. That word shifted something in my spine. Cold, heavy. Because suddenly, the small things started lining up. The feeling of being followed leaving the gym. The man in the grocery store aisle who never grabbed anything but stayed near me. The car that slowed down when I pulled into my driveway last Tuesday. I'd told myself I was paranoid. I'd told myself it was nothing. How do you know this? This time the answer came slower, like she was choosing her words carefully. Because he watches me, too. I froze. What? Before I could respond, another text came. Riley, you weren't the target at first. My stomach flipped. Me. What does that mean? The typing bubble blinked, stopped, started again. Riley. He thought I wouldn't notice him. People don't notice girls like me. My chest tightened. She wasn't sitting on that corner randomly. She wasn't there by accident. She was hiding. Suddenly, something clicked. She wasn't homeless. Not in the way I thought. She had clean shoes. Her hoodie, though worn, was good quality. Her backpack wasn't cheap. She never smelled like the street. She never asked anyone else for money the way she asked me. $6. Just enough to keep the routine going. Just enough to keep me stopping. She'd picked me. The kitchen shadow moved again. I saw a hand, gloved, opening drawers, slowly, methodically. Like he wasn't looking for cash. He was looking for something specific. I felt my phone vibrate again. Riley. He thinks you're predictable. That line hit different, because she'd said something similar weeks ago. You look like someone who doesn't like sweet things. She'd been studying me, not just chatting, studying. Me. How do you know he's here right now? This time she didn't text. She sent another photo, taken from across the street, zoomed into my living room window, a clearer angle than mine. In the reflection, you could see him. Tall, dark jacket, ball cap, standing in my house. And in the bottom corner of the photo, you could see something else. The hood of her sweatshirt. She was there, watching him. And that's when the realization hit. Riley hadn't been surviving on that sidewalk. She'd been staking it out. Because the man inside my house was the same man who'd been circling her for months, maybe longer. And she'd chosen to sit near me not for money, but for proximity, for safety, for visibility. Because men like that don't act when someone's watching. And I had been her shield, without even knowing it. My phone buzzed again. Riley. He's not stealing. My blood ran cold. Me. Then what is he doing? The 3 dots stayed on the screen for a long time. Long enough to feel like a countdown. Then, he's placing something. My heart stopped. Placing. Not taking. Placing. Inside my house. And suddenly, this wasn't about a break-in. This wasn't about theft. This was about setup. And I realized something terrifying. The $6 I'd been giving her every morning? That hadn't been charity. It had been surveillance. And the girl I thought I was helping might be the only reason I was still standing outside. Instead of walking into whatever he'd just left behind. Placing something. Those 2 words kept echoing in my head like a siren. I stayed crouched beneath the kitchen window, heart pounding so hard I thought he might hear it through the glass. My phone buzzed again. Riley. Don't go inside. Not yet. Not yet. Like there was a clock running. Like we were waiting for something. I forced myself to breathe. Then I did what I should have done earlier. I called 911. Quietly. Calmly. Controlled. There's a man inside my house, I whispered. I'm in the backyard. I can see him through the window. The operator asked questions. I answered. My voice didn't shake. Shock does that. It flattens you. While I stayed on the line, I kept watching. The man moved from the kitchen to the hallway. Slow. Confident. Like he'd been inside before. Like he knew the layout. And then he disappeared from view. Toward the front of the house. Toward the door. 30 seconds later, I heard it. The front door closing. Soft. Careful. Not rushed. Not panicked. He wasn't afraid. He thought he'd never be caught. I waited another full minute before moving. Police sirens started faint in the distance, growing louder. Good. I circled around the house and met the officers at the front. I explained everything. They went inside with weapons drawn, cleared every room, checked every closet, every corner. No one. But in the hallway, near the small table by the mirror, they found it. A small black device, magnetic, attached beneath the wood. One of the officers held it up. "GPS tracker," he said. My knees almost gave out. He hadn't come to rob me. He hadn't come to hurt me. He came to make sure he could always find me. My phone buzzed again. "Riley, did you find it?" I stared at the screen. How did she know what it was? Me. Yes. 3 dots. Then. Riley. He did the same thing to me. The air felt thinner suddenly. The noise of police radios faded into the background. Me. What do you mean? A pause, longer than before. Then. Riley. He's my father. Everything inside me went still. Not the man following me, not a random predator. Her father. Another message came. Riley. He lost custody when I was 14. He doesn't like losing control. My chest tightened. She hadn't been homeless in the way I thought. She'd been hiding, moving from place to place, avoiding patterns, avoiding him. He tracks women, she typed next. He dates them, watches them, controls them. My stomach turned. Why me? I typed. The answer came almost immediately. Because you reminded him of my mom. I didn't know what to do with that. Didn't know whether to feel terrified or furious. Police asked if anything was missing. No, I said, because nothing was missing. He hadn't come to take. He'd come to attach himself to my life. Quietly. Permanently. Do you know who might have done this? One officer asked. I hesitated. Because how do you explain a girl on a sidewalk who'd been warning you for weeks? How do you explain $6 in coffee and a cardboard sign that was never about hunger? There's someone I need you to find, I said finally. And I showed them her texts. They traced the number quickly. Prepaid phone, but active. Location pinged. 2 blocks away. On the same corner she always sat. When officers approached, she didn't run, didn't resist. She just stood there with her hood up, watching, like she'd been waiting for it to end. I drove over once the police finished questioning her. They let me speak to her briefly. Up close, she looked younger than I remembered, less guarded, more tired. You could have just told me, I said quietly. She shook her head. You wouldn't have believed me. She wasn't wrong. If she'd walked up to me day 1 and said, "My father's stalking you," I would have called security. Instead, she built routine, trust, visibility. She made herself part of my life slowly, $6 at a time. Why didn't you just leave town? I asked. She gave a small, humorless smile. You don't outrun men like him. You outsmart them. That line hit hard, because that's exactly what she'd done. She let him think she was invisible, let him think she was unstable, unreliable, homeless, while she watched him, tracked him, documented him. And when he shifted focus to me, she warned me. He thought you were easier, she said quietly. Divorced, routine, alone. I swallowed. He likes control, not chaos. And you? I asked. She looked at me steadily. I'm chaos. He was arrested 3 days later. Prior restraining orders, unlawful surveillance, harassment. The tracker wasn't his first offense, just the first one that stuck. A week after that, I stopped bringing $6 to the corner because she wasn't there anymore. She didn't need to be. She'd entered a protection program, temporary housing, counseling, real support, not cardboard signs. Sometimes I still think about that first day, about the way she looked at me like she was measuring something. She wasn't measuring my generosity. She was measuring safety, predictability, risk. And somehow, the $6 I thought were charity were actually a contract. Unspoken, unwritten, mutual. She protected me. I made her visible. And in the end, we both survived a man who thought women alone were easy targets. The last text she ever sent me was simple. You didn't go home. Thank you for listening. I still have it saved because sometimes the people we think we're rescuing are the ones quietly saving us.